Albert, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I got a lot of work to do. I need to review the growth strategy with the board, the
Okay.
CEO. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So today we are meeting, and I really, I think there are several things we want to get out of the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. So first, I want to talk about your career goal, as
Okay.
this is one of the meeting that I want to understand you, and second, we want to talk about the jobs and also some challenge in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you have any expectation from the meeting or interests?
Yeah. Also, I want to get to know you a little
Okay.
bit more,
Okay.
and then we can talk about how we can work together in the future potentially.
Yeah. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So then let's start to talk about a small, maybe a brief introduction of ourselves. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm Joanna,
Mm-hmm.
and recently our company has been expanding a lot into Indonesia,
Mm-hmm.
and as you know that I actually based in Singapore,
Yeah.
so I'm looking, like career-wise, I'm looking for someone who is really capable in Indonesia to help me together build the business.
Mm-hmm.
And also I have some family needs back in Singapore. My family is based in Singapore, and I hope I can balance my life and work on a more balanced way.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's basically me. And how about you?
So I have my family in Indonesia,
Mhm.
and I have been traveling between Singapore and Indonesia for a long
Okay.
time. I feel I have some connections. I know the local language, I know the local people,
Good.
I know the Indonesia business.
Mhm.
It's also where my passion is.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems like we are good fits. Together we can make good business for our company. Yeah. So then as I mentioned, I am looking for someone who can run a business for me. And you have very strong experience in the region. You have very good connections. Despite you have maybe some communication that in the past few weeks I observed, maybe you can correct me,
Okay.
that in communication actually you have some opportunity to improve
Okay.
if you want to lead a bigger team,
Okay.
and if you want to be more client facing.
Okay.
So that's my observation. Yeah. Do you have anything to add on?
Yeah, we can maybe talk about the communication part later, but it will be helpful to get to know a little bit more about the strategy in Indonesia. So company strategy.
Okay, sure.
And that's the guideline for us to just.
Yeah. So you are the expert of Indonesia, so I will really count on you to provide some insights on the growth strategy. So right now we have two ways. One is to grow within our company organically. The other way is to acquire other players inorganically. So this both ways have been discussed. And you mentioned before that you will prefer to go for the organic way, right? So can you share with me your insights on that? Or
Yes. So the Indonesian market is very complicated. It has so many islands and so many different languages, and like it has over 17 islands with a population more than 240 million, and the people are so different from each other. And then even though the economic was growing pretty well recently, but still post infrastructure, corruption, and complex regulation, the environment is actually very, very complicated.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's more like we can have more control. It's cheaper and less risky if we just rely on internal funding instead of.
So you're saying that if we own the business ourselves, then we can have more control.
Right.
But you also mentioned the infrastructure and corruption. They are very special, right? So are you sure that if we want to develop the business, we can quickly set up the business in the right way? Because we were not very experienced in this region yet, right?
Yeah, can you see the question again?
So if we are going to set up the business ourselves, is it also very high risk?
No. So we can navigate. So we can navigate along the the difficulties and complexities because we have more control. If we, let me see, might be faster. So acquisition might be faster at first, but the approach could backfire. Some other companies entered Indonesia a few years back with an aggressive acquisition strategy, but instead then fell victim to hundreds of lawsuits, political meddling, and also a lot of negative media campaigns. It was forced the company just pull out nothing to show its massive investment.
So it's because they acquired a company and then the company actually is not obeying the laws, etc., and then create risk. That's a very big risk. How about how about the cost side? So is it cheaper to acquire or cheaper to build the business ourselves? Do you have any knowledge on this?
So if we do the acquisition, the initial amount of investment will be massive. So that's the upfront cost will be much higher if we want to acquire someone in the region. So it will be so much cheaper if we just grow the business by ourselves.
Yeah, I heard that the Indonesian companies right now, they are grossly undervalued. So it's also one of the factors I was thinking whether we should just buy them if they are undervalued.
Okay.
So that's why I asked you about the costs. So do you have any knowledge on this or?
So far, looks I don't have a lot of numbers, at least related to how much money we need to spend to acquire a company. I guess, but I get your point. So you mentioned it might be undervalued, but my concern is even if it's like on the surface it looks cheap, but the downside can be really
we're not aware of the risk.
Yes.
Okay.
Like a lot of cultural expectations of those companies to be acquired will be out of control, and also in Indonesia the legal system is also not transparent, so it can get us into a lot of undisclosed liabilities. So if we get some company, we don't really know what kind of liabilities or risk factors or contingencies that could involve.
So you mentioned the legal risk. So can we compete with local competitors if they are closer to the government, or do we have this kind of relationship with the government?
Yeah, so that's a good question.
So I'm afraid that we will be outflanked by some local competitor who are close to the government.
I have been working, so actually our company have been working in the Indonesia region for a long time as well. It's not the first day we are in the region. We also have some connections and local relationships with the country.
I think from a risk perspective now I'm convinced that we should go for the organic, and then from the cost perspective there is pros and cons, and so I think I'm quite clear on the growth strategy. I think I'll go for the organic growth. And do you have any more inputs on this?
Let me just summarize my information on my side, and then I can just collect other information if you are also interested in getting to know. And then we can bridge the knowledge database. So then present to you later on to help you have a clear understanding of the whole region and a lot of business. And then we can potentially present to senior leadership team together and see if any further questions they may potentially have. And if so, a couple things I'm thinking about, because my family is in Indonesia, so it would be great I can move back to Indonesia to spend more time with them, and we have you in Singapore, then we can just connect with each other. Then I can do more operational work in Indonesia. That would be really helpful.
That sounds cool. So I think we do have roles in Indonesia which fits your personal needs, and you definitely have the experience and your knowledge and local connection to deliver that. And as I mentioned, my key concern will be in the communication. So we need to clearly align how to improve you in this area so you will be capable to handle this job in Indonesia. Yeah. So maybe let's be totally transparent. And so see what are the opportunities you have. So I can see one is that your way of communication. So sometimes it even feels a little bit like sexist. So you need to mind your wordings when you are communicating with others.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What's that? What do you mean by sexist?
Yeah. So because we have some feedbacks that you treat women in a demanding way and dislikes titles and hierarchies. So you need to be aware of that, especially communicating with the general office.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. That's helpful. Yeah, I also want to improve my communication management ability, and then I can take more responsibility and use my domain expertise better to contribute to the company.
So I think except for that, your background is very strong. Yeah. So that's the key focus area that I would suggest. Yeah. So do you see any other opportunities or any improvement plans help me from my side?
Oh, another thing I'm thinking about, I have been working at the company for a long time, and I'm showing successful record in the Indonesia region. So I'm expecting to get a 20% raise, salary raise. That will be helpful for me to just
So I think if you can get a promotion, then this 20% will be satisfied, will be justified. So my suggestion will be we can start to work like separately. I work in Singapore, you work in Indonesia in this role, and if you demonstrate you can prove your communication skills, then we can give you a promotion.
Because I got my promotion last time back 2 years ago, so I think it's good timing for me to get the promotion based on the result I delivered over the last 2 years or 3 years. So I believe I deserve the raise.
Yeah. So I think a promotion will be performance based. So as you mentioned, the background is very strong. However, the way you work with your colleagues is also one of the assessments. So as I mentioned, some colleagues are not comfortable, and you need to improve in this area. And actually, putting you in Indonesia also it's a kind of a trial period to prove that you will be able to do this after our communication. Because before we didn't clearly mention that to you, that we hope you could further improve in communication, right? So now after I pointed it out, and also specifically about treating women, so I hope you can improve this one. And only if this is demonstrated, I think we can talk about a promotion.
So here's my point. I guess for now, maybe there's no position for me to get promoted, but salary, in terms of salary, I want to get 20% higher salary. That means, and then I can do the relocation, and then, so it's not related to position, it's not title, it's about salary.
Let me check whether I thought. Let me check if there's a position. So actually, I don't find any information about the position. So about the salary, right now you are based in Singapore, and it's your personal need. You want to be transferred back to Indonesia, right? So to live with the family. So normally the salary level is very low in Indonesia. It's actually half of your current pay. And what I'm trying to do is try to get you a Singapore-based package. So while you are in Jakarta, you can still have this Singapore-based salary, because to the company, on the other option is we can hire a local pay person, which will only half of your pay. However, I really value your background, so that's why I think giving you the double market salary will be valuable to the company. So that's the plan that I try to work with the HR and the company leadership team to give you this. Otherwise, you will have to be based in Singapore still and work from
But in that case, I still need to travel a lot between
Yes,
Singapore
exactly.
and Jakarta. So, and it's, I mean, so it's the same for me. Just I will have office in Jakarta. The nature of the job will not change, and the 20% salary raise is based on my previous performance. So if we don't think about the location-wise thing, I feel it's still the 20% raise is still reasonable.
Because for the company to deliver the job, like the local market price is only half of your salary. So now you are requesting a 20% on top of your 100%. So it will be 70% more than the market. It's like this is a huge increase compared to from a company perspective. So that's why I say I'm already trying best to negotiate to give you the Singapore-based package while actually you are localized in Jakarta to be full-time working there.
You mentioned about the expertise, but I mean my expertise is not only in Indonesia but also in Singapore, so I can just bridge the two regions pretty well, and I have deeper knowledge in the area compared to a lot of local people. So that makes sense, and also I have worked at the company for a long time. I know the business very well. If we bring somebody from external to the company, it might not be the most cost efficient way to just get the person because the person might not be very familiar.
So I will be taking care from the Singapore side, and then right now actually I think the best design for the company will be we have someone who has local knowledge and focus and based in Indonesia, and I can take care of the Singapore part. And the second question you mentioned is about the cost efficiency. So as I mentioned, the market salary is really low in Jakarta compared to Singapore. So if we are going to recruit someone, maybe there is risks on the collaboration and also some ramp up curve, but definitely for the company it will be much cheaper. So I hope you can also understand from the company perspective, and to balance with you, I think the living cost in Jakarta is also much lower, and by relocating to Jakarta you can keep your salary in Singapore, and this will actually you can save more and spend more time with your family.
Let me see. Okay, so besides the salary, another thing is, I mean, I have knowledge in the Indonesia market. So, and we already have the agreement on the high level strategy, how we develop our business in Indonesia. And then on the operation level, it will be really helpful. I can get the freedom to be able to make some decisions how we are going to move the strategy forward.
I agree. So I think if we are going to have someone fully in charge of Indonesia, and you will be the one, and then we will definitely empower you to do this kind of decisions. And let's set up some process. How do we review this, and how do you communicate with the GO, so that we can make sure we don't have any miscommunication. And also during the first few months, we of course need to have some kind of how to say shadow monitoring. So let's monitor the business together, and if we see there is no issue, and of course you have improvements in the communication, then we can fully empower you to do that.
Yeah, I mean, yes. So, but okay, got it. So the last point is communication. I'm just thinking, if the communication part is being demanding to women. It's not very related to productivity or my contribution, isn't it? So it should not be that significant if I can communicate very well with other peers or so the clients I work with.
Yeah.
So what's the impact of it?
So because we are international company, so I think maybe the culture in Indonesia is a bit different from other regions like Singapore. Yeah. So it's very important. We need to keep in mind that this will be a big barrier when you are in leadership position because we need to make sure that your leadership style is not making others uncomfortable. So that's very, very important actually to be a leader. I think even in Indonesia, if you want to be the person in charge, so we don't want to see after a few months and then some other women complain about that. So I think that will be also bad image for our company, especially if they talk in the social media.
Another question is how we are currently measuring the communication skill, because it sounds very
so before we have some bad feedback, so I think if we don't receive any feedbacks like that, then it will be fine. So
and then it's so how long it will be for 1 year? Half a year, maybe half a year.
Let's have a half year transition period, and you'll be in charge, and also I will be keeping a close eye, working together with you on some key tasks in Indonesia and also on the communication. And if half year we don't see any issues, then we will fully empower you and
get the raise. Get the 20%.
I think by then we should definitely talk about the raise, and maybe if the Indonesia business grow strong enough, we can assign a different title for you.
I do think the performance part will be much more important than communicating with women and the feedback, complaint, that kind of stuff. Although I agree with you, it's
I think it's a mindset change is very important. That is critical to the company too.
It's okay. Just one more question. You mentioned like the social media and the impact. Also, what kind of impact do you think about the communication? Does the women directly complain on social media, or it's just inside the company? Then is that possible? I talk with the particular person, and which scenario I didn't communicate very well, then I know exactly what
sure. I will share with you maybe after the meeting about like how to improve in which way specifically. I think we can schedule another meeting to talk about that.
Okay. Let's do that.
Good. So I think we basically talked everything, and I really like the meeting today. I get to know you better, and I do believe together we can work very well and fitting your personal lead.
Okay.
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 Thank
Sounds
you.
good.